everybody, this is Blossom, and as you can see I'm finally in front of a camera, so this is going to be awkward for me and maybe even you to watch because I am really camera shy. I don't know where to look, I keep looking into the lens, I keep looking onto the screen, so I'm really sorry about that. The reason why I'm doing it now is I have very little time and I prepare a lot of videos, and so I thought, you know, this is easier, this is faster than going out and have to edit everything together. So I'm just trying it. Don't know if it end up on YouTube or not. I think my dogs are doing something that they shouldn't. Of course. This video is about creating sacred space. And I don't know if you watch the videos first or if you read the lessons first, but we go into that a bit in the of course in the in the text. There we go. We talk, for example, about creating an altar or a shrine. Yeah, I just go briefly into the difference between an altar and a shrine. So behind me you can see my altar. For me, an altar is a space where I can work, where I have enough room to do this. And so here I can do card readings, or if I have incense, if I want to make an incense mix or anything like that, or whatever I want to do. I need a bit of room for that. And a shrine is for me where you just have your figurines or your statues or whatever you have, a lot of crystals or whatever, you know, what you have. Now, for this video I don't want to go too much into creating an altar, but more of discussing what sacred space actually can mean for you. And in a way, I think the first thing we need to do before we enter sacred space is to find that sacred space within ourselves. So that means to declutter our mind and to become really free. And this is really easily said, but it's difficult to do, right? To declutter the mind. Sorry, the dogs are all around. And we have to find definitely that peace within ourselves to enter a sacred space. But if we build a sacred place or space first, we may have the possibility to find that safe place where we can just let go. What is a sacred space? So a sacred space can be everything. It can be the tiniest corner in your home. It can be outside, your favorite tree, or, you know, just in the middle of a meadow or in a field, if you like. It can even be in your car. It can also be a time of day. So let's assume you have a big family, you have a house with a big family. You can never find any kind of little space for yourself because, yeah, well, the house is full. I like to think of it really doesn't matter. You just have to sit on your couch at a certain time of day, maybe before everybody gets up, maybe before when everybody is asleep. So, you know, it's just about having that moment for yourself in a place where you feel safe. That's all what it's about. You don't have to create anything. I'm lucky enough that I have a whole room for myself and actually a whole house, to be honest, to be fair. I create, yeah, my whole house is really my sacred space. I can find quiet pretty much any time of the day because I work from home. I just have animals around me. So yeah, and when you enter this sacred space, this is the place where you can finally take all your masks off. And this is the most important thing. We will have a few exercises in the written lesson about that, so that it's really the time where all the masks can come off. So I'm not saying that masks that you wear in the outside world are wrong. Sometimes they are needed. Sometimes we have to protect ourselves. Sometimes we just try to fit somewhere in. And sometimes we really don't. Depends on your personality. Are you a bit more rebellious? But in your sacred space, wherever that is, and whenever that is, take everything down, layer after layer after layer. I remember I wrote for a video a while back for the pagan travel vlog or something. I don't need the layers anymore, the 1,000 layers that were forced upon me. And this is very true, because all the layers we get are kind of forced upon us, right? Everybody has a different idea of us, you know. Your friends will see you completely differently than your parents. Your children will see you differently. Your pets will see you in another light, and your partner, maybe the same, I don't know. I think they get a pretty the same idea about you. But like, for example, my grandma, I'm telling you a little personal story now. Still, to this day, so she talks about me being afraid of the wind. Because I live in a high place here and it's always very, very windy. And every time she asks me, oh, why are you not crying when the wind comes? Because apparently when I was 2 or 3 years old, when we were on holiday, we were at the beach and it was apparently super windy and I started crying. So that's still the image that she has of me. My mum probably sees me still as her child and with different eyes than friends do. And so all those layers have to come off at that sacred space. And the most important thing in sacred space, everything you do, the exercises we discuss in the lesson, have to be from your side, completely judgmental free. It is a space, a safe space for you, and no judgment at all. I really mean that. Take those 5 or 10 or 15 minutes a day where you just don't judge yourself. We do that all the time to ourselves. All the time. We judge ourselves constantly. So there are people, they have a better handle on this. I know I don't. I'm very harsh with myself in general, and it's not a good thing. It can be good, you know, not to be to think that you are too great, because it gives you the constant drive to improve yourself, right? But being too harsh is not a good thing either. So it's all about balance, like in everything we do. And work in this place, in that sacred space, yeah, completely judgmental free for just this short time. And then after all those exercises, for example, also when we think about the many layers you have, that you can, or that were forced upon you, think about how you see yourself and how others see you. Where are the differences and how do they come to be? It's one of the exercises. Another thing you could do is, for example, you could write stories about yourself, about certain aspects of yourself. For example, somebody, one of your friends, maybe not one of your best friends, sees you always being the pure sunlight and sunshine and always being happy. And maybe think about a situation, whatever, you go through town and something happens, whatever, you know, and how exactly that aspect of yourself would react. Write a little story about that, or just think about it. or you play it out with a stuffy. Maybe you have, find your inner child in your safe space without judgment. Take 5 different stuffies and then you let them play it out. So one is always happy, the other one is always angry, one is super jealous, another one is very sleepy and tired, and let them play out the situation. You could do that, right? Or you just write about it. So this is, for example, one possibility what you could do in sacred space. Now this is the beginning of creating your sacred space where you don't actively invite the fairies in just yet. That comes later when you feel comfortable and judgmental free, judge-free, without judging. Sorry. Then in the exercise we also talk about how to keep your sacred space sacred and clean. So cleansing with herbs. That doesn't always have to be just sage. I will list a number of sorry, I get very easily distracted. So you could use peppermint, you could use rosemary for protection, you could use grapefruit mint or grapefruit, essential oil. You can use birch, you can, that's like the new beginning when you really want to bring a fresh energy in. You can use lemon balm when, for example, everything is a bit, the heart is heavy. So I will give you more examples in the written lesson. Then you can also clean the surfaces with water together with essential oil. I will also talk about the lesson, about that in the lesson. And then, looking at my notes. Oh yeah, another method, of course, is through sound, cleansing through sound, getting rid of that stuck energy through sound. So you can use singing bowls, drums, a didgeridoo if you have. Clapping your hands. Just, go through your rooms, especially in the corners and between doorways, and you just go. Sorry, I have my cat on my lap, she will be scared now. You just go. She was scared. That's all you have to do, really loud, and you can combine that with chanting if you want, and, bring really the power of sound in it. And then we will also have a brief look at how you can build a stone circle if you have the place to do so. And another thing we will have a look at is finding your power center. So there we will use the dowsing rods again, or the pendulum. It depends on with what you work. I would really recommend to do this exercise. It's so cool to see those places and those earth energy in your own home, because often we think about the earth energies, it has to be something in a sacred place. We have to travel far, but it's so close. It's just under your tushy. So really try that out. And then another thing that I talk a little bit about in the lesson. Oh my god, this video is gonna be long, sorry. So another thing I'm gonna be talking about in this video. Sorry, this is gonna be weird editing. I'm really nervous. Excuse me. Another thing we talk about is not to share your sacred space on the internet. So this is really fun because you are with me in my altar room. I don't do it often, to be honest. but I thought because this is for the Faery Course, I thought, yeah, okay, it's gonna be okay for that. And I also do readings here that I will have on the internet. But I am pretty sure, I make always sure to protect and cleanse the space before and after. I'm not a big fan of constantly sharing everything you do in sacred space, and that's why I suggest in the lesson not to share anything you do in the sacred space for a while. not to share anything. No, not taking pictures, not taking your cell phone with, no camera, no filming, nothing. This is just to really own this place by yourself, and so you have the possibility to really go in there without having to think, oh, it looks like a mess, I have to clean up because I'm gonna share a picture later. And so you can really be free of that for a little while. There we go. And after all that, after you really own this place or space or time, you can start to work with the fairies in there. So maybe you are already all good with that, with sacred space, and you're like, I'm very comfortable. It's one of those exercises that is at the very beginning, but often get neglected later. And I think it's always good to go back to the roots again and start at the beginning, because often our spiritual path gets a bit stuck. And this can be the same with fairy. That can be on every path. So this video is of course for the fairy course, so I will focus on fairy here. Yeah, so then invite the fairies in. So I just want to mention that briefly. When we go into folklore, for example, fairies are in a way very judgmental. They judge everything we do. But it is more a reminder for you is that are the actions that you take. When you are in sacred space and you think you have thoughts that are not appropriate to work with fairy, still, remind yourself that you didn't took any action yet. And those are just thoughts, and the fae will not judge you for your thoughts. And then it also depends a bit on how you see fairy yourself. Some people really go with the folklore and really believe in the good fairies, bad fairies, and that they will harm us. And others are very, very fluffy. Personally, I am somewhere in between. Yeah, so balance, right? But I don't think I will, when I invite them in my sacred space, this is also for them a judge-free zone. Now, something else I want to say, I mentioned it before, my whole house is my sacred space, and as that I treat it. And so I want to surround my whole place with stuff I love, with stuff that makes me happy. So I'm not a minimalist. I have a lot of glitter figurines, I have a lot on my walls. I will always have colorful walls, except for one. This is the only white wall I have. And this was just because it was a very pastel-y pink and I didn't know what to do with it yet. 7 years later, I still don't know what to do with it. It's just silly. Yeah. So I will create, my whole house is like, is a sacred space. But yeah, for my work and those things, I come here because here I can close the door. It's the smallest room in the house. I can close the door and just, be with myself for 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it takes. Sometimes on a good day, or when I really need it, I can be just here for an hour and really work with some inner stuff. So I thought I'm going to give you a little house tour. I've seen other people doing that. So I didn't want to do a video on itself for that, but I thought it's gonna be fitting for this sacred space stuff, creating sacred space video. There we go. And yeah, like In my altar room there's not much more. This is the main attraction, probably. Yeah, let's do that, okay?